Joe, we are back at Newport Beach. We're on episode 10 of season 2, The Accomplice. And I'm not feeling great, Joe. I feel like we've been having a great run of episodes, and this one just nothing worked for me with the plot lines that we are starting to see form in this episode.
Matt, can you swim? Because I'm pretty sure that we've jumped the shark.
Yeah, this is so. if I'm remembering correctly, I watched this a little bit more in the past than normally.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I watch the episodes the day we're about to record. I watched this episode about a week ago, but if I recall everything, this episode we've got more of the Zach Seth situation. Lindsay is starting to maybe get to know Caleb. Zach and Seth are going to start working on a comic book. And Marissa's going to start hanging out with Alex more. And there is just the most obnoxious Kirsten Sandy storyline forming that I just like everything was bad, Joe. So let's do this. All right.
They all kind of, this is what my upteenth rewatch of the series. So I completely forget how they introduce the comic, and it just seems kind of out of left field when it happens. Because it's one of the first things that happens in the episode, right?
Yeah, it's so the episode. I wrote so few notes for this episode, and spoiler alert for the next 2 weeks, not a lot of notes for those either. Like everything moves so slowly over these 3 episodes. We kick off this episode where Seth, Zach, and Ryan are all hanging out, giving each other dating advice, which is like already messy because you got 2 guys fighting for the same girl in this situation. But yeah, Zach sees some of Seth's drawings and it's just like, we should make a comic. And they decide to start hanging out, making a comic. While all of this is happening, we also, our first appearance of Marissa is she's drunkenly dancing around in her room, first thing in the morning. And Caleb comes in and she's like, oh, I'm feeling sick. I'm not going to make it to school. He's like, oh, I'll have someone call to check in on you in the afternoon. She's like, don't worry, I'll probably be sound asleep. And it's like, man, you're not even good at lying about any of this. And I wrote down, I don't think I've ever hated a character that I'm supposed to like as much as I do with Marissa. Because yes, we're looking at it through the lens of 27, 37, people in their 30s. We're looking at the lens of people in their 30s, and it's like, you are just the most obnoxious teenage girl imaginable. But for the audience that this was intended for, Marissa's rebellion was probably supposed to seem pretty cool. Look at her taking down the power structures of Newport Beach with her rebellion.
With her rich stepfather, and her mom is traveling through Europe or whatever the fuck. And yeah, it's a little, again, right? You said it best. We're 2 cis men, 1 gay, one straight. We're in our 30s, but we also remember we grew up around the time period about what this show is or grew up or contemporarily grew up with this show, right? Yeah. You didn't watch it, I did. And so, at that time, it's okay, rebellion is fine, but this is the part of season 2 where Marissa just is insufferable, and the whole the storyline. If we didn't jump the shark with lesbianism, then we definitely jumped the shark with Berkeley Fugitive.
So yeah, let's. Dear God. So
where do we even where do you even want to go, Matt? Because
here's the problem. So we made the decision. Normally, we watch 2 episodes for each recording, and knock out 2 episodes back to back. I'm showing a little bit of a wizard behind a curtain. We went with 3 episodes. Here's my problem. We need to release 3 episodes. We can't just suddenly break format. But I feel like only one actual episode of information happened over the course of 3 episodes. It's so hard to find individual episode talking pieces to discuss. So in this episode, all we really get is that Sandy had an ex-girlfriend named Rebecca, who maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I feel like this is the first time I've heard about this person who was like his almost fiance, love of his life 20 years ago. Have we ever gotten information about this in previous times?
No. Again, jumping the shark, because it's like we've now all of a sudden it's one of those things where it's like the episode should have started with like 5 months later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this shouldn't have been. There shouldn't be this like there shouldn't be this much happening so closely to what happened in the last episode. But here we are, and all of a sudden he's like, Sandy. See, that's the thing, is that they're trying to put the focus back on Sandy. Like I can kind of see network TV writing structures happening with this, because oh no, it's okay. This is supposed to be a Peter Gallagher vehicle. He is at odds with his Newport life in at odds with his Newport life in season 1.
Yeah,
which is
remember
one of the
when Seth hated living in Newport Beach? We haven't heard shit about that in like 20 episodes.
Yeah,
like,
now he loves it. Well, I mean, again,
he moved away and lived with Luke for a couple episodes.
And the gay dad.
And pretty much the second he came back to Newport Beach, he's just been all on board for Newport.
Yeah, because Summer is there. That's the other thing, is that in Summer and Ryan are there, which like I want to say so much about like the supposed homoeroticism of him like leaving.
Can you believe it's only been 9 episodes since they saved Seth from Luke's house? It feels like that was years ago in my brain.
Oh yeah, it's like what has happened? It feels like the amount of time that we've been recording, like it's been weeks, right?
Yeah, like, but even then, from the stance of that was 8 to 9 weeks ago from our recording perspective, like as episodes come out, it feels like that was like in the first season, like early first, like everything. This season was moving so smoothly until like right around last week. Yeah. The X Factor episode where we introduce Alex's ex,
who's a girl
who's still there, and like no lessons are being learned. Marissa is already utilizing Alex the same way that she utilized DJ, as like, I don't think that she actually cares about this person. It's just another thing that will piss off Caleb and Julie.
Yeah.
Like that's all this relationship seems to be at this point.
I know. I mean, you're kind of on board with Julie as Mother of the Year, right? Like,
well, let's not get too crazy here. So I wrote down this note, and this is like, I said, Jesus, I really don't like this episode. Seth and Zach are annoying. Summer's kind of annoying. Marissa's at her peak of annoying. Like it is so wild. So honestly, so let's just wrap up the Sandy storyline, because we get breadcrumbs with this storyline. We find out that Sandy used to have this long lost love before Kirsten. Like they were engaged to be married. Yeah, like this is all information we've never ever heard. And then his long lost love's father, who was like Sandy's mentor, shows up and is like, my daughter's missing. I need you to find her, essentially, is what it comes down to. I'm not doing well. I'm probably going to pass away soon. I want to make sure that I have all of my shit in order. So Sandy goes on this deep dive to try to find her, and then he gets the information that Rebecca, his long-lost love, is dead. And I'm like, cool, whatever. This was such a waste of an episode. Until...
Can we also, before you mention, cameo by Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yes.
Which, like, was delightful, because I'm like, oh my God, that's Mr. Winchester.
Yes.
And Negan and a bunch of these other things, but like the star quality already in that little cameo.
Oh yeah. No. And then we get this information that Unfortunately, Rebecca's dead. It's very devastating for Sandy. Kirsten feels bad for him. Blah, 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 blah. Mentor calls him to talk to him, and he goes over assuming that they're going to have a conversation about what to do now that Rebecca's dead. And then the big end of this episode twist, bum, 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 Rebecca is alive. And all of this is very stupid. Like, it's so worthless, Joe. Everything that happened in this episode. And then we get to the Seth and Ryan and no, not Seth and Ryan. Seth and Zach. So Ryan's like almost a non-entity as far as my notes are concerned in this episode. It's just more Ryan, Lindsay, and Caleb shit. They kind of get way more of a spotlight next week. But right now it's just like, keep in mind that Ryan's dating Lindsay and Lindsay's the daughter of Caleb and Caleb don't like Ryan. Like, that's pretty much just, they're just reminding us that this episode.
Yeah, these 3 episodes, and I'm actually, like you said, I'm glad that we're doing it because these 3 kind of make sense to lump together, is that these 3 episodes, we really don't get much. Like, Ryan's just kind of hanging out. Ryan's just studying for tests. And
he's such a non-entity in this episode.
Yeah.
But what we find out is that Seth has all these great drawings, but he has a whole book of just drawings of Summer as a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan's like, hey, you should hide that book. Like Summer's boyfriend, who's also your friend, is coming over to work on comic book ideas with you. And like, he might not love this creepy ass stalker level sketch pad that you've dedicated to Summer. And Seth's like, all right, that's probably a good idea. So he hides it under the bed. He gets his other sketch pad with all the other drawings, and him and Zach are just in the zone. They're having so much fun creating this comic. Zach's forgetting dates that he's supposed to be going on with Summer. Summer's dropping by to be like, what's happening here? And she's yelling at Cohen for nerding up her boyfriend. Her boyfriend's been a nerd from the second we've met this character. Like this is not like new information, whatever. But finally, they agree to leave. They're like, oh man, all right, we'll come back tomorrow and work out more ideas. And this is when Summer somehow, leaving the bedroom, drops something which causes her to reach basically all the way to the middle of underneath Seth's bed to find the hidden book of her drawings. And she's super charmed by them. She goes, oh, these are so good. These are so cool.
Look at my boobs.
Look at my boobs. Now, here's the one thing where I don't like when we watch this many episodes in a row. Is it this episode where Zach is on board for Summer being the main character of their comic, or is that at the very start of the next episode?
Next episode.
Okay. So right now, all that we know, Summer has found the book of drawings.
Yeah.
That's the extent of it.
Which... did you have a clean under your bed when you were a kid, when you were in high school?
Pretty much. I mean, yes and no. Like, I'm sure I definitely had to.
Not enough to, like, warrant a shot. Like, if there was a filmmaker under your bed, like, there wouldn't be things there.
Oh, you mean like if you went underneath the bed, there would only be that notebook and Captain Notes and nothing else?
Yeah. I was like, I give Seth a lot of credit, but like that is a little too much. Like under my bed is like extra storage, and there's a shit ton of stuff under there.
Well, and that's
Always
the thing.
Has been.
Your parents don't want you to know about that when you're a kid because it seems messy. But like when you're an adult, you're like, oh my God, this is like an attic underneath my bed. Yeah. Like this is just the stuff. This is where I can put the stuff that I never feel like reaching for ever again, but don't want to lose for one reason or another.
It is mind-blowing
and heartbreaking
how many original scripts are written every year but are never made.
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts,
Movies made of paper,
wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
Joe, I can't believe that this is the situation, but I genuinely think that less than 15 minutes into our recording, we've hit all of the plot points of this episode. It's such a nothing episode.
I know.
What is even the accomplice? Is the okay, because we find out that Rebecca did not do the crime that she's been on the run for, but she was an accomplice to the crime in the sense of she knew it was going to happen and chose to step down.
Yeah, like she's the accomplice. Well, it's a couple things, right? So like
the multi-name thing. That's
the multi-name thing. Like, so the accomplice is Sandy, because Sandy is now like, harboring a fugitive. The accomplice is him not wanting, him keeping it a secret from Kirsten. Well, no, that comes up in the next episode, but like more, it's like Sandy, and it's also Rebecca. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I don't. It's okay that this is a shorter episode because, like, this is how they used to make TV.
Yeah, no, I know. Guys, I'm going to apologize up front because I think, we don't do long episodes to begin with, but I think that you're about to have 3 weeks in a row where the episodes just barely crack 30 minutes of our podcast, because they really took what could have been a 1 to 2 episode story and really stretched it for up to 3 episodes. But clearly there's more beats coming, because by the end of the 3rd episode that we're going to record, like, there's still loose ends. Like it's just like, this is the same shit that happened. Well, no, it's the opposite of what happened last season. Last season they were telling these like what should be series long stories in like 2 episodes and then just like moving on to the next one. This one, it's like, why is this a 24 episode season? This could have also been like an 18 or 20 episode season and like consolidate some of this storytelling.
I have to, something in these 3 episodes, it's setting up something that it's kind of setting up something for the end of the series. So like, I want you to remember me saying this, so that way when we get to the season finale of 2, we can talk about it, because I think it's planting seeds for something that doesn't get fully sown, that we'll reap in the end of 2 and the beginning of 3.
Okay. No, I think that's fair.
And it's with characters that I don't think. Well, no, I'm not even gonna go that far as saying it. But like, I think that like thematically they're planting some seeds, or maybe the seeds of what happens at the end of 2 is starting here. All of that to say, like, I told you that I have a lot to say about these episodes. The main thing that I could just go on a rant about is the fact that we don't need to fuck with Sandy and Kirsten's relationship.
No, I don't. Like, why can you not just have one dependable couple that's like the lighthouse against all of the other craziness?
We can save more of this conversation for the next episode, because I think that'll come. It's more.
It gets way messier in the next 2 episodes for sure.
Yeah. But like, here's to start it off, we should have never ever done it. Like, we should have never fucked with this.
Here's what I will also give a compliment to. Lindsay, Alex, Zach, these are all characters who have been on this season longer than I ever anticipated them being, because think about season 1. Season 1, each one of those characters would have had a 3 episode story arc and then just fucking disappeared.
Would have been awkward.
like it's like they're actually letting these characters feel like they're part of this world. I'm sure that none of these 3 characters make it into season 3 of the show, but like, it really,
whatever makes you say that.
Yeah. But at least it feels like they're trying to make them feel like they're legitimately fleshed out characters amongst this group, way more than they ever did with anybody who wasn't the core 4 and Luke. You know what I mean? Like, this actually feels like, okay, no, there are students that go to this school.
Hold on, I'm like trying to figure out. See, like, that's the thing, right? Is that like there's star quality in Michael Cassidy has star quality. It's alt, it's indie, it's alt. He doesn't really enter the mainstream. Not in the way that Olivia Wilde does. and I'm just like looking now to see like what the actress who plays Lindsay is doing now.
Not much. Like, it's not like they left to be big stars. I just don't have any faith that these. Well, also, I was cleaning my house, and I bought this house from my sister. And apparently she owns only season 4 of The OC on DVD, or at least that was the only DVD that when she moved out, she's like, I don't need to take this with me. So I definitely noticed.
What a cursed season.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that the box art did not have Lindsay, Zach, or Alex on it. So I have a feeling they don't make it the long run, but it's nice that they are somewhat established characters here. Joe, I think I'm ready to talk about some music with you. Oh,
and what music?
Between the 3 episodes, this episode has more music than the next 2 combined. This episode, we get the song "Hands Up" by Walking Concert, which plays when the guys are talking in the cafe. 10 a.m. Automatic by the Black Keys is the song that Marissa dances to in her bedroom. Evil by Interpol plays when Marissa and Alex are having a talk. Portions by Foxes, Rilo Kiley plays when Marissa and Alex are driving. And then Pretty Ugly Before by Elliott Smith is the last song we hear in this episode. Honestly, this was probably the most songs I knew in a single episode. I knew 3 of these songs very well, being a fan of the artists. But I went with the song I liked the most. I was actually shocked to hear it in the episode, which is Portions of Foxes. I love this song, even though I never know how to pronounce the band's name properly. But it's just a really catchy song. It feels realistic. It takes me back to episode 1 where "Swing Swing" by All American Rejects is playing in the car. It just feels authentic in that scene, and not like a hardcore advertisement of like, check out this new indie stars album that we're gonna splatter all over this episode. But what about you, Joe? I feel like you're going Elliott Smith on this.
I mean, is it because I'm gay? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's just anytime an Elliott Smith song has been in the running, you usually lean into it.
Well, because they know how to properly program an Elliott Smith song into dropping it. Only because I am not familiar. I'm only familiar with one of their songs, so it was nice to listen to other songs from this band. Rilo Kiley.
Rilo Kiley.
The Rilo Kiley track, because I'm only familiar with one of their songs.
Which song?
And it was Breaking Up.
Okay, so here's a fun thing about Rilo Kiley, actually. Here we go. We're going to bring things full circle. Portions of Foxes is on their second album. Mm-hmm. I believe it's the track right after it, or 2 tracks after it, is a song called Ripcord. That's him, Joey the Rat from Boy Meets World. He wrote the song, and it's literally a song about the death of Elliott Smith and his sadness of never getting to meet Elliott Smith.
Wow. Okay. See, you're blowing my... Okay, well, now I'm going to spend the rest of the day cleaning my room listening to Rilo Kiley.
Yeah, the album that this song is on is my favorite of theirs. I think it's more adventurous. It's a very fun album. But Joe, real quick, before we wrap up things entirely, we're going to talk about something that we've been watching, usually a culturally important moment. Now, we've been trying our best to stay away from promoting too many movies and TV shows while our friends...
Because we're on strike. Pencils down.
Yeah, for our friends in the Writers and Actors Guilds, we stand in solidarity. That doesn't mean that we won't, but we still want to make sure that we're stressing to people that the studios are ridiculous. My friend from high school is making a movie, and he has SAG actors in his movie, and he was able to get the okay by just saying that he'll be able to fulfill all the things that SAG is striking for. And this is a dude who raised about $40,000 on a Kickstarter campaign to make his movie. So if my friend in the middle of bumfuck Pennsylvania can give in to the demands of SAG, Disney needs to get off their goddamn high horse that to give in to those demands would, quote unquote, bankrupt and cripple the entire industry.
Well, it's worth saying, right, that like the reason why this is so like this is just a nothing burger for them, or at least for the studios, is they created They created the problem.
Yes.
It is their fault entirely that they've created unsustainable models of business that like now it's like, oh, so if we're just asking for literally the bare minimum, like literally just the bare minimum. And there is something to be said about like the existential threat, right? Of AI and all of that stuff. So all of this to say, for as long as the strike goes, I mean, there's a good possibility that we could be finishing season 2 and the strike will be on still.
Oh, yeah. No, I have a strong feeling that the strike is going to go until at least the new year. I really, truly believe that. Or that it ends so late in 2023 that nothing goes back into production until the new year.
Yeah. They're like doing Emmy campaigns right now. And I'm like, oh, y'all think the Emmys are going to go? Like,
yeah. Yeah, no, there ain't shit that's happening until 2024 at the earliest. But anyway, all that to say, I write down my pop culture promo stuff months and months and months in advance. Just as I finish watching or reading something, I'll write it down. So funny enough, my pop culture promo for this was Love is Blind season 4, which this episode will be coming out just in time for Love is Blind season 5 to come out on Netflix. Netflix is a giant part of the problem, but man, do they make some good trash. So
they're making all that trash for you.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. They made some good trash with their reality shows.
I'm going to talk about a book.
Okay.
Because I just got it and I'm very excited. It is called, I just happen to have it right here. You can't really see it because I've blurred my background, but it is called Safe and Sound, a renter-friendly guide to home repair.
You talked about ordering this book in a previous episode.
And I have it now, and I'm bringing it back up because I have to, can we get real? Can we get real?
We can get real.
I've been living with my parents for a long time, right?
Okay.
And this particular book by Mercury Stardust, the trans handyman who I mentioned in a previous episode, like I was just expecting it to be just a bunch of like home repair things. The first couple chapters are literally about how to find an apartment.
Oh, I love that.
And the things that you need to like watch out for, and like literally giving you the questions that you should be asking, not only from a queer lens, but from like just a, Mercury Stardust is a handy woman, is a trans handyman. So like, it's like, yeah, ask to speak with the person who does the maintenance on the property. And it's fascinating because like, she also does this whole thing about, I mentioned it about like why renting like is nothing to turn your nose up at. And just, it was a beautiful first couple of chapters. She's coming to San Diego in December and I can't wait for her to sign this. I'm so excited.
Nice.
But like reading that made me like, okay, like I feel feeling less shame about living at home, but also really desperately wanting to have my own place.
Hey man, literally the only reason why I am able to live in a house that I own, beyond the fact that I bought this off of a family member, is that I spent the better part of my 30s living back at home with my parents. Like I made that decision to spend 5 years after like renting a few places, moving back in and living with them and removing as many bills from my life as I could to be able to even consider saving up the amount that you would need for a down payment or even your first and last rent payments to get a place. So I think that it's gotten a little bit better now, but I am so tired of people shaming other human beings for like the changes that the choices they make to get out of a situation. I've definitely gotten into arguments with people where they talk about how expensive their student loan debt is. Then when I say that I was able to pay it off, they act like, well, you cheated and moved in with your family. So of course and it's like, no one's stopping you from doing the same fucking thing.
It's not cheating
Yeah.
because anybody could do it.
It's
right?
not.
Like,
it's not cheating because the system is already rigged for us to lose to begin with.
Exactly.
So we're just you're using whatever means you have. They had a spare bedroom and weren't going to charge me rent, so I could go there and pay off my student loan bills.
You also liked profoundly liked the college you went to. Like,
yes.
like I can't really say that because I like my program. I wasn't like in love with the college.
No. I like still feel emotional when I go back to the campus, and it was a commuter campus. It wasn't even like I was like living on campus or anything. Now they have dorms, not at the time when I went, but it was just that we had I found my people when I was there, and the amount of fun and self-discovery and the ideas that expanded out of my head, like it was a very profound 4.5 years. And every time I go and visit that campus for any reason, I feel that specialness all over again. But Joe, you know what I don't feel any specialness for? Any of the plot lines that we've watched on this episode. And guess what? We've got at least 2 more, if not 3 more episodes to continue to drive home all of this nonsense. So stay tuned next week while we get to enjoy some more of these exciting white people problems.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.